Good afternoon, everyone. I am Dr. Divyajeet Singh, JR3 from Psychiatry Department, presenting my seminar on topic salient feature of Mental Health Care Act 2017. First, start with few slides. Start with introductions and history. First of all, the question arises why we require a new Mental Health Care Act 2017. So the main reason for that behind that is India rectified in UN Convention on the person with disabilities in October 2007, and we rectified this UN CRPD Act in 2007, we need to amend our local laws or align with these laws with the UN RPCD. Like India has to harmonize all the existing local laws with this UN CRPD. In March 2017, Lok Sabha passes the bill, and the Mental Health Care Act on 7th April 2017 signed by the President, and it came into force on 29th of May 2018. This was the act which is signed by the President, published by the authority in Ministry of Law and Justice on 7th of April. This was the copy of that. Now, need for mental health legislation. There are few objectives, two objectives for that: to protect the right of person with mental illness and to address the stigma associated with the mental illness, and to provide the quality of care with patient of mental illness. Now, guidelines behind the principle of Mental Health Care Act, including the basic human rights like freedom, equality in every means, and the respect, and the autonomy with individual having a capacity to make decision in this new act. Now, the paradigm shift in mental health legislation in India. The various mental health legislation in India include, like first act was introduced in named it Indian Lunacy Act in 1912, and it mainly focused on the custodial care of the patient with mental illness, because during that time no psychopharmacological treatment was evolved out, so they mainly considered a custodial care. Then after the amendments done, many amendments done, and the Mental Health Act 1987 came. In that act, the treatment was also introduced during that in 80s time. A few psychopharmacological treatment has came, so it confined with the treatment also of patient with mental illness. After that, various persons with Disability Act 1995 social model of disability care has been came, and finally the act has been came the Mental Health Care Act 2017, which includes the human rights also with the basic treatment of the psychiatry. Now, this is very important. Mental Health Care Act 2017 preamble. It has a two main objective: to provide the mental health care and service for person with mental illness, and to protect and promote, not only to provide the mental health care, also to protect and promote the fulfill their rights with patient with mental illness during the mental health services, and whatever the matter connected during the mental health services, it is also related with that also. Mental Health Care Act consists of 16 chapters having a 126 section. Chapter 1 is preliminary, Chapter 2 is mental illness and capacity to make mental health care and treatment decision. Chapter 3 is advanced directive. Chapter 4 is nominative representative. Chapter 5 is right of patient with mental illness. Chapter 6 is duties of appropriate government. Chapter 7, 8 is related to the implemented authorities, Central Mental Health Authority and State Mental Health Authority. Chapter 9 is related to the finance, accounts and audit. Chapter 10 is mental health establishment. Chapter 11 is mental health review board. This is also a implemented authority. Chapter 12 is related to admission, treatment and discharge. Chapter 13 is responsibility of other agencies. Chapter 14 is restriction to the discharge function by professionals not covered by profession. Chapter 15 is offences and penalties, and chapter 16 is miscellaneous. Now start with the chapter 1, which contains the definitions in the Mental Health Act. Now the new definition as per the Mental Health Care Act 2017 of mental illnesses, it is a disorder of mood, thought, perception, orientation and memory which causes the significant distress to the person or impair that person's ability to meet the demands of its daily life, and it includes the mental condition associated with the abuse of alcohol and other drugs also, but does not include the mental retardation. It included the substance use disorders in this definition, and mental retardation is excluded, and all the determinant is based on the international standard like in International Classification of Disease ICD-10. This chapter 1 also includes the PGs of Ayush like Ayurveda, Unani, Siddha and homeopathy practitioner as a medical professionals to determine the treatment need of patient with mental illness. And it also includes the mental health establishment like the mental hospital and other setups. These are the setups which is also associated with Ayush establishment, wholly or partially meant for the care of person with mental illness. And these setups are established, owned and controlled or maintained by any entitled authorities, but it has to be registered by the state or central mental state authority. Chapter 2 deals with the mental illness and capacity to make the mental health care and treatment decision. This is the chapter 2 describe the capacity of person with the mental illness having a capacity to make the decision regarding regarding his mental health care or treatment. This is not only the person having a mental illness, it is for every person. And treatment, if such person has an ability to understand the three things, understand the relevant information, appreciate consequences of the decision and communicate the decision by any means. These three things has to be followed to have a capacity. If any patient or any person does not follow these three conditions, then it has to be followed the another guidelines of advance directive and nominative representative, because in that condition patient is not able to make the own decision regarding his mental illness. Now this is very important part, chapter 3 regarding the advance directive. It's in the section 5. Every patient with mental illness except minor, means adult, has a right to have an advance directive by writing. Shall have the right to make advance directive in writing, specify how to be cared for mental illness and how not to be in future. An advance directive can be made in writing on a plain white paper with signature or thumb impression and attested by the two witnesses, registered in the board and signed by the mental health profession, stating he is having the capacity to do so. That's the point of that capacity which I told in my previous slide. And these advance directive empowers the patient with mental illness to choose their treatment and appoint a representative to the decision on behalf of them. In this advance directive, the patient is also have a right to choose their nominative representative on when the patient is suffering from severe mental illness in future. So they on behalf of them, patient having a nominative representative. So that has been taking a decision on behalf of patient. This has been covered in my next slide. In case of minor, the parents or caregiver will act as a representative. And this advance directive can be revoked, amended or cancelled by a person who write this advance directive at any time. And advance directive is not valid in the emergency treatment. This will I also covered in my next slide in detail. So advance directive is cancelled by a person anytime it is not followed in the emergency treatment under section 103, and the board, the mental health authority board, has a right to cancel this advance directive at any point of time if they have needed. Now chapter 4 is nominative representative. Every person except minor have a right to appoint its nominative representative, And the nomination is also similar like in an advance directive. It can be made in the writing on a plain paper with person's signature or thumb impression. And if no nominative representative is available, there is a precedence of selecting a nominative representative. Nominative representative should be of a close relative. The first thing is the nominative representative is a close relative. Then after that it gives precedence to other friends, and then the board has been decided who will be the nominative representative of that person. And if in case no responsible person available to nominative representative, board shall be appoint the director. The Department of Social Welfare, the person will be the Department of Social Welfare, his designated representative of the person. Now, what are the duties of nominative representative? Nominative representative should be of same cultural background of the person, and he would know all the current and past wishes of the patient. He will know the life history of the person, and the would be the best interest of the person with mental illness. It provides the support in making the treatment decision, right to see the information on diagnosis and treatment of patient with mental illness, access the family and home-based rehabilitation service, involved in the patient discharge planning, apply mental health establishment for admission and discharge, and right to give consent or withhold any consent for any research purpose. Chapter 5 is right of person with mental illness. This is known as the heart and soul of this Mental Health Care Act. Because this Mental Health Care Act is not only for the treatment, this is considered the basic human rights for the person with mental illness. The person is having a deal with the right of people. Chapter 5 is deal with the right of people with mental illness. Every person shall have the right to access mental health care and treatment for mental health services run and funded by the appropriate government authority. Patient have a right to live in a community like a normal people lives. Patient have a right to protect from the cruel, inhuman and degraded treatment. Like in previous जो पहले के mental asylums होते थे उनमें बहुत ही cruel और inhuman treatment करा जाता था patients के साथ. But अब जो है because of these right came into the effect, तो their all has been prohibited. Right to refuse a compulsory torturing of the patient. पहले जो asylum में जो भी patient होते थे mental illness वाले सबको उनके head shave कर दिए जाते थे. But now this has been prohibited. This is not compulsory. This is done in a मतलब कोई special circumstances होंगे, कोई स्काल्फ का इन्फेक्शन है किसी को या प्रॉपर हाइजीन नहीं कर पा रहा है तो वही हम उसे हेड शेव करवाएंगे, अदरवाइज हमें नहीं करवाएंगे. दिस इज अगेंस्ट दैट पर्सन राइट्स. राइट टू लिव विद रिस्पेक्ट एंड डिग्निटी, टू लिव इन सेफ एंड हाइजीनिक एनवायरनमेंट. जो पुराने असाइलम्स होते थे उनमें अगर 50 to 100 पेशेंट्स हैं तो उन पे एक ही टॉयलेट यूज करा जाता था, तो उस समय बहुत ज्यादा मतलब हाइजीन को उस समय ध्यान में नहीं रखा जाता था. टू लिव इन सेफ एंड हाइजीनिक एनवायरनमेंट, हैव एडिक्वेट सैनिटरी कंडीशन, फैसिलिटी ऑफ लेजर एक्टिविटीज, रिक्रिएशनल एजुकेशन एंड प्रॉपर रिलीजियस प्रैक्टिस हैज बीन confirmed in that mental health establishment. Right for privacy also. The person with mental illness not to be forced to work or to receive appropriate remuneration. कोई भी पेशेंट जो होगा मेंटल इलनेस से उसे किसी भी वर्क के लिए फोर्स नहीं करा जाएगा. अगर कोई काम उसे रिइंफोर्समेंट के लिए या कोई थेरेपी के लिए करवाया जाता है तो वो भी उसे उस हिसाब से ही दिया जाएगा जो इक्वली बाकी सबको दिया जाता है. मतलब ऐसा नहीं है कि उसे कोई बहुत हार्ड या टफ काम देना है या कोई काम जबरदस्ती कराना है. एंड पेशेंट हैव अ राइट टू वियर ओन क्लोथ्स. जो पुराने के असाइलम्स थे उनमें एक ड्रेस कोड होता था पहले जो इट्स लाइक अ जेल, तो वो उस कोड को हटाया गया. अब पेशेंट हैज अ राइट टू वियर हिज ओन क्लोथ्स, और जो उनके नॉमिनेटिव रिप्रेजेंटेटिव हैं या जो रिलेटिव हैं जो अटेंडेंट हैं वो उन्हें क्लोथ्स लाके मतलब वो प्रोवाइड करा सकते हैं, दे सकते हैं. दे आर नॉट बाउंड टू वियर एनी ड्रेस कोड. And they have a right to protect from every verbal, emotional or any physical form of potential abuse. Section 21 deal with the right to equality and non-discrimination. This means that physical illness and the mental illness should be treated with the same वे में. मतलब पहले क्या होता था, जो मेंटल इलनेस होता था उन्हें थोड़ा सा स्टिग्मा होता था कि फिजिकल इलनेस का ट्रीटमेंट होना जरूरी है, मेंटल के लिए या तो वो विच क्राफ्ट या फिर कोई झाड़ फूक वगैरह वो करते थे. बट नाउ इस टाइम हैज बीन चेंज, देयर इज अ राइट टू इक्वालिटी एंड नॉन डिस्क्रिमिनेशन. तो मेंटल patient with mental illness has to be treated like having a physical illness, and they had a right to have a medical insurance like in a physical disorders. Right to information regarding his they have a right to information regarding his illness. Right to have a confidentiality, patient have a right to have a confidentiality regarding his clinical features, symptoms, and regarding whatever he have a disease. So regarding his having a confidentiality. But this confidentiality has to be breached in a few cases, like if patient have been shifted to other hospital, so we have to pass the patient information to other hospital also. And if the patient is harmful for the society or self, then we have to breach his confidentiality and give the proper information to the patient nominative representative. Patient has a right to access medical records. Patient has a right to personal contact and communication. Now patient has getting a right to keep a mobile phone or laptop in a medical health establishment. Before that it was not, it was prohibited. Patient had a right to legal aid. Patient has a right to make complaint about any deficiency and provision services in the mental health establishment. Chapter 6 is duties of appropriate government, is under section 29 to 32. The promotion, government also had a duty in promoting the mental health and preventive programs, creating awareness about mental health and illness, reducing stigma associated with the mental illness, and appropriate government program to take measures as a regarding to the human resources development and training, etc. And there is a coordination in between the government, like in the state government has to collaborate with the central government with relating to these laws. Chapter 7 deals with the Central Mental Health Authority. Now this is the implemented authority like Central Mental Health Authority, and chapter 8 is deals with the State Mental Health Authorities. These are the government bodies. These are the state and the central government bodies. This helps in the regulation and coordination of the mental health service under the central and the state government, and it is support to be provided for the purchase of infrastructure, offices, and basically it gives the financial support to these mental health establishment. So section 34 composite of Central Mental Health Authority, and section 43 is consist of function of Central Mental Health Authority. Besides financial help, it also helps in registration of all the mental health establishment, development of service provision norms, supervision of every mental health establishment yearly or monthly, maintenance of national registers which contain all the mental health professional registration number, and provide the training on the mental health care at time to time. And it advises the central government on all matters relating to the mental health care and services. State Mental Health Authority has a similar function. Composition comes under section 34, and section 43 has a function of State Mental Health Authority, and its function is similar to Central Mental Health Authority. Chapter 9 deals with the finance, accounts, and audit with these laws, and in this section 57 to 64 consist of grants, funds, and auditing. Chapter 10 deals with the mental health establishment, and in which the section 67 to 72 deals with the registration of mental health establishment with the central or the state mental authority, review and inspection of the mental health establishment by that implemented authority. Chapter 11 deals with the mental health review board. Now this mental health review board is a judicial body. In this the chairperson is the level of district judge level of person is a, or retire any judicial retired person is a chairperson, including with the two medical health professional, which one would be a psychiatrist, and it also have other members also. The function there is a one mental health review board on 3 districts, and the function of mental health review board is register and review and alter an advance directive, to appoint a nominative representative. If any change would have been occur in advance directive and nominative representative, that should be informed to the mental health review board. Receive application from a patient with mental illness on nominative representative to educate complaints of regarding deficiency in mental health service, to visit and inspect prison and seek clarification from medical officer in charge of that mental health establishment. Now this chapter 12 is also very important regarding the admission, treatment and discharge. In this the section 86 deals with the admission of patient with mental illness as an independent patient. Now the independent patient who considered himself to be mentally ill and can be admitted to any mental health establishment for treatment, and provided that he has a severity needed for admission and he will benefit from that admission, and he has the capacity to consent. That the 3 points which I told in my previous slide, that the capacity has to be there. This is called the independent admission. And section 87 is deal with the admission of minor. In case of minor patient who needs the patient in case of minor, that minor is first of all assessed by the 2 individual psychiatrists, separate psychiatrist or mental health, and then support the patient who need to supported admission should be this comes under the section 87, describe the admission of minor. The nominative representative, here is the main important role of nominative representative, and he should apply to the psychiatrist. 2 mental health professional should independently see the minor and clarify the need of the admission. Minor should be accommodated separately from the adult along with the nominative representative, and this is section 87 deals with the admission of minor, and minor should be kept with his nominative representative. Section 89 and 90 is for supported admission. Section 89 consists of supported admission for less than 30 days, and beyond that the section 90 has been came. Section 89 describes the supported admission. The patient who needs supported admission should be independently assessed by the 2 separate psychiatrists or mental health professional, and supported admission means that the person is on the risk or threat for a patient himself or to the others, or if severe degree of inability to take care of self is present. So in that cases the nominative representative or the advance directive should be followed when the person has a severe mental illness and he does not have that capacities to undergo these decisions. So supported admission under section 89 of Mental Health Care Act 2017 can made only up to the 30 days, and if want to extend these admission on the request of nominative representative beyond the 30 days, the section 90 should be followed, which is the continuum of supported admission up to more than 30 days, and it can be extended up to 90 days, up to 120 days, 90 days, 120 or 180 days. But it has been done by informing the mental health review board by the psychiatrist. The psychiatrist should have to assess first, then after that only that the time of admission has been extended. Section 91 is deals with the leave or absence. it this section 91 with leave and absences deals with सपोज लाइक जैसे अपने वार्ड में जैसे कुछ पेशेंट्स होते हैं, अगर उनका कोई सम्मन आता है कोई जुडिशरी से या उनके घर में कोई इंपॉर्टेंट फंक्शन है या कोई डेथ है और सडनली उन्हें जाना है लीव या एब्सेंस में, तो दिस सेक्शन 91 विच इन चैप्टर 12 is amended during that time, and this time if the person is not having a mentally stable, then the permission has been granted by a psychiatrist on the behalf of nominative representative. And if person is not, अगर जो पेशेंट है अगर वो नहीं आ पाता है तो हम उसे कांटेक्ट करते हैं जो उसका नॉमिनेटिव रिप्रेजेंटेटिव है, अदरवाइज वी हैव टू सेंड पीआई फॉर दैट so that they bring the patient to the mental health establishment. In section 94 comes to the emergency treatment, and this emergency treatment is only for the period of 72 hours, and during disaster or emergency it is up to for 7 days. And regarding the emergency treatment, if this is the treatment is required when if you find any person on the street or in the community and is severely violent, means it is having a person with having a mental illness, and it should be start from the community, from the village, and this treatment should be start from the home only. So this treatment has been done with up to the 72 hours time limit, and after that if patient should be assessed by the psychiatrist, and if he is well oriented and having an insight, then the section 89 and 90 should be amended on this after the period of 72 hours. Section 95 of this chapter is regarding the prohibited procedure. In this new Mental Health Care Act 2017, some procedures has been prohibited, like direct ECT without giving anesthesia, ECT for minors. In special circumstances, only the informed consent from the legal guardian, only that this has been given. Sterilization for men and women has been prohibited. Previously it considered that sterilization is a part of mental illness. अगर हम sterilization करेंगे तो वो भी mental illness का part है, but now this not has been done. Chaining and physical restraint without consent of a psychiatrist has been prohibited. Psychosurgery has been done only after a permission from a mental health review board. This is the continuation of chapter 12, section 96, that is a prohibition of psychosurgery except in the special circumstances. Section 97 consists of restraint, seclusion, and it is only be the last resort. As per this new act, the restraining should be done only as a last resort, only when absolutely needed and least restrictive mode, and it is only be done under the guidance of the psychiatrist consultant during that time, and all the procedures has been immediately recorded and to be informed to the nominative representative about all these restraint and seclusions, and all these reports have been monthly given to the mental health review board. Chapter 13 is responsibilities of other agencies. Now there is also a duties of police also. The person with mental illness should never be kept into a jail. Rather, it is a duty of police that inform to the nominative representative of that person and need for custody and treatment, and immediately taken to the nearest health establishment within 24 hours of assessment and training. And if police found any wandering patient, the first step is to lodge a FIR, and then necessary step to trace the relative to be made for that patient. And ill treatment to the patient with mental illness to be reported to the magistrate. Chapter 14 deals with the restriction to the discharge function by the professional not covered by the profession. That is, the mental health practitioner cannot discharge their duty against the Mental Health Care Act and cannot be practiced beyond their specialities as per the Mental Health Care Act. Chapter 14 deals with the offences and penalties. Non-registered mental health establishment is liable to penalty of rupees 5,000 to 50,000 if they caught first time, and up to 5 lakh subsequently. A non-registered mental health practitioner who serve in mental health establishment will be liable to penalty of rupees 25,000. Chapter 16 is miscellaneous, and this is very also important. Section 115 is deal with the decriminalization of the suicide. Before that, the suicide is, as per the IPC 309, the suicide is a criminal offense. But now it has to be considered by default that the person who commit a suicide has been in a severely stressed. So this has been decriminalized. Now the key differences between Mental Health Act 1987 and Mental Health Care Act 2017. In terminology, in Mental Health Care 1987, mentally ill was used, and now the came up with person with mental illness, mental health establishment, and mental health practitioner. Previous act was focused on laws, and this act was including the right of person with mental illness. Previous act was governed by the state and central authorities, government authorities. Now the mental health review board is also came into force. Newer provisions came up in Mental Health Care Act 2017 is advanced directive, nominative representative, decriminalization of suicide, and regarding the emergency treatment. Now, positive aspect of Mental Health Care Act 2017. Chapter 5, as I already told, that it is a heart and soul of the law, which is related with the rights of the patient with mental illness. Safeguard of patient with mental illness right to assess the quality care and compensation by state. Free treatment for below poverty line patient, destitutes and homeless people. Newer options like advanced directive, nominative representative, etc., and giving a autonomy right to having a decision of to patient with mental illness, and also including of insurance coverage for mental illness. All these are the positive aspects of 2017 Mental Health Care Act. Now, critics to the Mental Health Care Act by the field expert. There is exclusion of mental retardation from the mental illness, and no clarity towards including the personality disorder and the minor ailment. An array of new bodies like Central Mental Health Authority, State Mental Health Authority, and Mental Health Review Board need a huge funding for its functioning. That is also considered to be a problem. Over inclusion of traditional system practitioner into the definition of mental health practitioner. Need to report mental health review board may cause delay in patient care related decision making, because every time any changes would occur in advanced directive, nominative representative, we have to immediately report to the mental health review board, and it is heavily influenced by the Western legislation. These are my references.